to the Church of Rock and Roll!
And I'm sitting here with Cincinnati's own Foxy Shazam on IRS Records with the new record out, which is the Church of Rock and Roll. And right now, I want you to take me into the studio and the recording of this record. Now, you'd mentioned you had Justin Hawkins of The Darkness produce the record. How did that happen? I mean, did you guys know each other, or?
Yeah, me and Justin met probably a year or two ago. We actually wrote a song for Meatloaf's new record, Hang Cool Teddy Bear. So we were hired as writers to write for that album, and we met through that together. And that's where we kind of got a chance to see how we worked. You know, I didn't know the guy, but ever since we worked together on that, it's just kind of really hit it off well on the creative side of making music.
Right.
So I always kind of thought he'd be a great person to make a record with, produce it, and so I always kind of had that in the back of my mind. We kept in touch, we're good friends, you know, and then come time for our new album, just thought it'd be a great idea to do it, and because it would be more on like a friend level. It's not like a producer that you don't know, big LA hotshot or something.
Right.
It's just like a, you know, guy that feels the same way about music that we do, and it made for a really easy and comfortable record experience.
Well, I have to say, I mean, the record's great, and you can tell that you're very comfortable working with the producer just by listening to the record. Because I mean, and I know sometimes you know you can get into a situation where you feel like you're kind of being forced to write, or forced to come up with something that's not really yours, and that's kind of a bad situation to be in. But that's obviously not the situation you're in on this. So, and you said you recorded this in England.
Yeah, we did.
What studios were
It's actually called Bungalow Castle. It's at his place. He's got like a studio in his house, which was even cooler because then it was just even more comfortable, obviously, you know.
Sure.
So it was just wake up every morning and go there, and it's interesting. Something I've noticed about our records is that they kind of have this weird, like everywhere we do our record, we have 4 records so far. We've done them in different places, each one. Like the first one is Cincinnati, we did it here. The second one we did it in Seattle. Third one was LA, and this one now in England, and they all kind of have the sound of where they were recorded in some way.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So like Seattle's kind of grungy, has like this grungy, garagey element, and then LA is almost, you know, it's real refined and polished sounding record, almost leaning a little towards the pop side of things, which is great. And then this one's more like a, you know, just real English rock sounding kind of. So I always thought that was interesting. I just noticed it now with this record, is that all of our records kind of hone in on where they're from.
Yeah, I noticed with bands, and I noticed with Blessed Union, obviously, because I was, you know, involved in it for so long, that you continue to grow and you evolve.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it sounds like, you know, you're telling me, is that, you know, as you continue to do records, you're evolving, and you're still finding your sound.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, in 20 years you guys are still touring and putting out great records, and you're still evolving and still finding your sound.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's like the musician that just gives up and just, you know, just plays all the time, and does the normal thing, and stops wanting to practice and stops loving his instrument. Right. You know, he stopped growing. That's not a good thing, but that's awesome. And really, this record's very artistic. So, you know, to me, you know, I'm not going to ask you, you know, what your influences are, because I mean, obviously, there's only one way to rock, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I know a lot of people in corporate part of the business will try to pigeonhole you into that.
Yeah.
But I really love your sound.
Thanks, man.
What's the like when you go into the studio and you start a session? How's that day go?
We usually try to, like, you know, we'll always start with like we'll write the song acoustically, like with bare bones, just the nucleus of the song, get that down, and then we'll go into the studio and just kind of like. The nice thing about writing is that in the studio is that you kind of build it as you go. So, you know, there's anything can happen. That's my favorite part. Like in the morning, you start with this idea in your head, like, okay, we're gonna record this song that I have in my head, and then by the end of the day, it's basically a new song, you know. But it's better, you know. It's so. My favorite thing starting in the morning is just kind of like. Just how it's gonna change throughout the day as you record and build it. So
it's funny how a song can start out one way and you have a vision. Okay, this is how it's going to sound, and at the end, you started laying guitar tracks and it starts to grow and it starts to blossom and become something different.
Yeah.
And you look back and go, wow, that's not what I expected, but it's so much better.
Yeah.
You can never fight the motion of the way a song is being created and moving. You have to go with it.
Right.
And
So
we're very big about that.
I think what we learned is always like, sometimes you have this idea for a song, what you want it to be, but the most important thing about writing is just making sure you're not like, you don't
willing to throw that out the window.
Yeah, you're willing
Right.
to let that go. You know.
That's awesome.
So.
Well, you know what? We're going to go to a break real quick.
Yeah.
And we're going to come back and talk about and it's probably your favorite part too, is touring. Even though I know you're doing a lot of it and you get really tired and burned out and whatever. But, we used to say the reason why we recorded records was to tour. Because, that's what we love to do. So we're going to come back and talk about touring and what you guys have coming up here in a little bit.
Awesome,
so
man.
We'll be back at the Music Channel with Foxy Shazam and the new record, Church of Rock and Roll. We'll be back right after this.